Thanks for stopping by. I did not know that classic TV edition. Please like and subscribe.
I'll think about it.
That's all I ask.
Do you love classic TV and cartoons? Check out the other videos on my channel where we cover everything from The Andy Griffith Show to Batman to Quisp and Quake and many more. Hey, welcome back. Let's start out this episode with one of my favorite cartoon superheroes from the 1960s, the Mighty Hercules. It debuted on television in 1962. The 5.5-minute episodes were very loosely based on the mythological Greek hero that first came on the scene around 500 BC. Biblical films and Greco-Roman hero movies, sword and sandal films as they are called, had become quite popular during that time, so it made sense for someone to try to capitalize on it with a cartoon. I remember anytime a Hercules film or one of the Sons of Hercules movies came on, I would be glued to the set. Anyone else remember this song?
The mighty sons of Hercules once thundered through the years.
Adventure Cartoon Productions produced the Mighty Hercules series and had two former DC comic writers on staff to write the cartoon. As you'll find out, Hercules and Superman have a lot in common. First of all, if you think about it, this Hercules cartoon mirrored Superman in many ways. You had Hercules, who of course was like Superman. You had Herc's girlfriend, Helena, who often had to be rescued, much like Lois Lane. Then you had young Newt, the centaur, who, like Jimmy Olsen, often got himself in bad situations and needed to be saved, or at times he could be counted on to help Hercules when he needed it. He also liked to sing,
I'm not afraid, because of Hercules,
and for some reason liked to repeat everything twice.
Guess he showed you.
There's also the uncanny physical resemblance between Hercules and the 1996 cartoon Superman. In some ways, they are almost identical. That's because the artist for that Superman cartoon series later realized that he had subconsciously copied the face of the Mighty Hercules after another artist pointed out the strong resemblance. So let's get to the cartoon. There are a lot of cartoon superheroes that don't have much of a backstory. I always liked a good backstory because I think it makes any character much more interesting. One episode shows Hercules on Mount Olympus where he decides he wants to go to Earth to help us puny Earthlings when we get in trouble. But Daddy Zeus warns him that if he does this, he will not have his super strength. So Zeus gives Hercules a magic ring that will give him Superman strength when he puts it on. When he's not wearing the ring, he keeps it in his Hercules belt. You wonder why he just doesn't wear the ring all the time, but if he did that, that would have totally removed any element of danger in the show. As far as I know, the original stories of Hercules from 500 BC never included a ring. But the writers for the cartoon knew their audience, and any kid who watched it couldn't wait for the moment that Herc put that ring on his finger.
When I put on my magic ring, let's go, Newton.
That's me.
Even without the ring, he'd be giving monsters a pretty good battle, but when that ring went on his finger, you knew it was all over for any fiend or monster. It was like Popeye grabbing his spinach. If you weren't lucky enough to get Mom to buy you a real Hercules ring in the checkout line at the supermarket, you'd use a gumball prize plastic ring or even a cigar band for your own Hercules ring. You'd clench your fist, raise it in the air, and then fight all the terrible evil in your neighborhood. There were a lot of monsters for Hercules to fight, which of course any kid loved. There were also an assortment of bad guys that were regulars. One of my favorite villains was a guy named Murtus, an evil blacksmith. He made himself a magic metal helmet that was called the Mask of Vulcan.
Fascinating.
Which made him invincible when he wore it. So Hercules couldn't just use his brute strength to defeat him. He had to figure out a way to get that helmet off his head.
I did it, Herc! I did it! Well, Maybe Toot did it. Maybe Toot did it.
Each episode of Hercules was pretty similar. Much like Popeye, Hercules would be getting beaten up for a while and losing until he put that ring on, and then he'd emerge victorious. And at the end of each episode, he'd give a shout and hightail it back to Mount Olympus. The Mighty Hercules became very popular for a while. It was a staple cartoon on many local children's shows across the country. There was a Hercules board game, record album, a couple issues of a comic book, and other items. By the way, the guy who sings the Hercules theme song is Johnny Nash, and a decade later he had the #1 hit in the country called I Can See Clearly Now. Even back then I realized the animation for this show was pretty weak, but it didn't matter. He was Hercules. He had the ring. He had Helena, which I had a bit of a crush on, and he had the strength of 10 ordinary men and iron in his thighs. And as I mentioned earlier, each episode had a cool ending with him taking off and shouting, When was the last time you heard the theme song from Batfink? Let's take a look at that show next. Batfink came out in April of 1966, about 6 months into the run of the incredibly popular Batman TV series. The Green Hornet was also scheduled to air later that fall. The Green Hornet's sidekick was called Kato, played of course by Bruce Lee. So Batfink had an Asian sidekick named Karate. The cartoon clearly was hoping to capitalize on the new superhero craze. Batfink and Karate rode around in their Battle-Ack. Much of Batfink's powers came from his metal mechanical bat wings. They allow him to fly at super speed at times, and he can also use them as shields or to fight with them. Because he's a bat, he also has supersonic sonar radar. He can send out a beep that usually travels to the bad guys and then returns to him with information that he needs, or actually shows them where the bad guy's hideout is. His main arch nemesis is a villain named Hugo Agogo, who is called the world's maddest scientist. But there are also a lot of other villains with names like Stupid Man, a villain who commits crimes so stupid no one else would commit them, Manhole Manny, who commits crimes using the sewer system, and Daniel Boom, a criminal who uses explosives in his crimes, and many, many more. I have to admit I'd kind of forgotten about this show, and so it was fun watching it again after all these years. At times, some of the artwork and puns reminded me a bit of the writing and characters from Fractured Fairy Tales, the studio who also did Rocky and Bullwinkle. The great thing is, both superhero cartoons I focused on in this episode, The Mighty Hercules and Batfink, can be found here on YouTube, so you can watch them again anytime you want. Well, that's it for this show. I really enjoy your comments and suggestions for future programs. Check my other episodes out on Forgotten Cartoon Superheroes, and let me know if there's a Forgotten Cartoon Superhero show you'd like to see. I've posted links to some of those shows below.